The mysterious cult leader's iceberg. Shout out to Amilos260 for posting this iceberg chart over Reddit. From enigmatic figures who captivated followers to those who sparked controversy and tragedy, cult leaders are really special people who deserve to be studied. I mean, you'd agree with me that it takes a lot to influence people. Today, we're diving into the chilling depths of the mysterious cult leader's iceberg. Join me as we unravel the layers of secrecy surrounding these charismatic yet often dangerous leaders. Get ready for a journey into the shadows of cult history. And yes, the tears again. But this is not just some boring tears. Rest assured you'll have an interesting journey down these tears. And yes, make sure to give me feedback as it's my first video. Tell me, roast me where I can improve so I can bring you better and better videos every week. Let's get right into it. Tier 1. L. Ron Hubbard. Starting with Lafayette Ronald Hubbard, who was born March 13, 1911. Hubbard was an American author and philosopher, also known as the father of Scientology. Scientology is a controversial religion that combines elements of self-help, psychology, and science fiction. Scientology was based on his initial set of ideas, written in a book he called Dianetics. He referred to Dianetics as the modern science of mental health. In 1950, he went bankrupt, causing him to lose the right to the book. He created Scientology in 1952, based on the ideas in his book. In the late 60s and early 70s, he went into seclusion into the California desert. Hubbard used his time in hiding to write his first new works of science fiction in nearly 30 years. In one of his documents, he taught that the historic Jesus was not nearly the sainted figure he'd been made out to be. People mocked him and called him crazy, but his followers admired Jim still. He suffered a stroke in January 17, 1986, and died a week later. Shoko Asahara. Chizuo Matsumoto was born on March 2, 1955. Born with infantile glaucoma, he was partially blind, but that didn't deter his aspirations. He developed a fantasy and aspiration to rule Japan. After graduating in 1973, he applied to study politics at Tokyo University, but was rejected. He resorted to practicing acupuncture and Chinese medicine. In 1981, he was convicted of practicing pharmacy without a license. His interest in religion reportedly started at this time. He dedicated his free time to the study of various religious concepts, starting with Chinese astrology and Taoism. He further practiced Western esotericism, yoga, meditation, esoteric Buddhism, and esoteric Christianity. He grew his beard and hair and adopted the name Shoko, meaning an offering of incense. He created a group called Om Shinrikyo, which is a doomsday cult. He was convicted of masterminding the deadly 1995 sarin gas attack on the Tokyo subway and several other crimes. He was sentenced to death in 2004 and was executed on July 6, 2018 by hanging. David Koresh. Born August 17, 1959, Vernon Wayne Howell, otherwise known as David Koresh, was abandoned by his parents to the care of his maternal grandmother. He had dyslexia as a child, partially caused by poor eyesight. He joined the Seventh-day Adventist Church as a born-again. However, he almost sexually molested the pastor's 12-year-old daughter, which got him expelled from the church. In 1981, at 22, he moved to Waco, Texas, where he joined the Branch Davidians, an apocalyptic cult founded in 1955 by Benjamin Roden. In 1989, when the previous leader of the Branch Davidians was charged with murder, he was confined in a psychiatric hospital, leaving his building taxes unpaid. Koresh and his followers raised money to pay the debt and claimed the building at Mount Carmel in 1990. Vernon filed a petition in California to change his name legally and for business purposes to David Koresh, after which he started professing himself to be the spiritual descendant of King David, a messianic figure carrying out divinely commissioned errands. His doctrine believes that there shouldn't be limitations to marriage, since even the biblical David attempted to collect his servant's wife. David married both single and married women, including his wife's underage sister. He died on April 19, 1993, at Mount Carmel Center, Texas, due to a gunshot to his head during the Waco siege. Sun Myung Moon. Young Moon was born in a Confucianist family on January 6, 1920. However, he converted to Christianity when he was 10 and joined the Presbyterian Church. In 1941, he cooperated with the Communist Party members in the Korean independence movement against Imperial Japan. In 1943, he changed his name to Sun Myung Moon to decrease the resentment of other Christians towards him as he began gathering his followers in Pyongyang. He was imprisoned by the Soviet-controlled North Korean government for espionage and religious persecution, but was later released. He separated from his wife in 1952. In 1955, he founded the Holy Spirit Association for the Unification of World Christianity in Seoul. He married his second wife in April 1960, and were both referred to as true parents by members of the Unification Church. He died on September 3, 2012, after suffering multiple organ failures. Jim Jones. The popular leader of the People's Temple cult, James Warren Jones, was born on May 13, 1931. He is known to be an American mass murderer. As a child, Jones developed an affinity for Pentecostalism and a desire to preach. He was ordained as a Christian minister in the Independent Assembly of God, attracting his first group of followers while participating in the Pentecostal Latter Rain movement and the Healing Revival in the 1950s. He founded an organization that would become a People's Temple in Indianapolis in 1955. He was ordained a minister by the Disciples of Christ. In the late 60s, he became vocal about his rejection of traditional Christianity and began promoting a form of anti-capitalism he called apostolic socialism, and making claims of his divinity. In 1974, he built the Socialist Paradise, where he convinced and compelled most of his members to live with him to free them from the United States government. In 1978, reports of human rights abuses and people being held against their will in the building were made. This made him order a mass murder of the commune members, consisting of 909 members, of which 304 were children, and then committed suicide. So much for a leader. Marshall Applewhite. Marshall Herff Applewhite Jr. was born on May 17, 1931. He was an American religious leader who founded Heaven's Gate. He earned a bachelor's degree in philosophy in 1952 and enrolled at Union Presbyterian Seminary to study theology. Early in seminary school, he left to pursue a music career, becoming the music director of a Presbyterian church in North Carolina. In 1954, he was drafted by the U.S. Army and served in Austria and New Mexico. He left the military in 1956 to further his music career at the University of Colorado, where he earned a master's degree in music. He taught at the University of Alabama, where he lost his position after pursuing a relationship with his male student, as his religion doesn't support same-sex marriage. He separated from his wife when she learned of the affair and later divorced 3 years later in 1968. He was rejected by his father after confessing his homosexuality. In 1971, Applewhite fell into a severe depression after his father's death. He met Nettles and concluded they were divine messengers, leading to the creation of Heaven's Gate. In 1977, he died as a result of the mass suicide of his and his members. Adam Weishaupt. Johann Adam Weishaupt was born on 6th of February 1748. He was a German philosopher, professor of civil law and canon law, and also the founder of the Illuminati cult. His father died when he was 5 and was taken care of by his godfather, who was also like his father, a professor of law at the University of Ingolstadt. Adam graduated with a doctorate of law in 1768. In 1772, he became a professor of law and later a professor of canon law in 1773. On May 1, 1776, he founded the Illuminati in the electorate of Bavaria. Initially, Illumination was designated for a group of outstanding and enlightened individuals in society. The actual character of the society was an elaborate network of spies and counter-spies. He died on November 18, 1830. After this, Illuminati was banned and its members dispersed. Warren Jeffs. Warren Steed Jeff is a famous American leader, currently held in prison. He was born on December 3, 1955. He is the prophet of FLDS, Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, succeeding his father's church with the title of Prophet of Priesthood. However, he not only earned his father's church, but also his polygamy. His father is said to have 19 to 20 wives and 60 children. Warren, following in his father's footsteps, has 87 wives. A week after his father's death, he married his widows except for 2. One ran away and the other was prohibited from future marriage because of her refusal. Jeff had the right to assign wives to husbands and also had the right to discipline a man by assigning his home to another man. In 2006, he was arrested for sexual abuse and sentenced to life imprisonment. He tried committing suicide while in prison by ramming his head into the wall and trying to hang himself. But no, he wouldn't die. He's still in prison to this day. Charles Manson. Charles Miles Manson was an American musician, cult leader, and criminal who was born on 12th of November 1934. He was raised in the home of an aunt and uncle after his mother was arrested for assault and robbery and was released in 1942. In 1947, he was placed in a school of male delinquents, which was run by a Catholic priest. However, he ran away to spend Christmas with his mum. In 1948, he committed his first crime by robbing a grocery store in Indianapolis just to find something to eat. In 1949, he was arrested and sent to a boys' juvenile facility, where he tried to escape but was caught and sent to an Indiana boys' school, a strict reform school. He ran away from the school 18 times after consistently being bullied and raped by students in the school. In 1951, he was able to escape with 3 others and was arrested for driving a stolen car. An aptitude test was taken which determined he was illiterate but with a 109 IQ and was deemed aggressively antisocial. In 1952, he committed several offences, 4 of which included homosexual abuse, where he was convicted for 5 years. In 1968, he started preaching his philosophy based on the science fiction Strangers in Strangeland, Scientology, the Bible, Dale Carnegie, and the Beatles. In 2017, he was held at Corcoran Prison. He died of cardiac arrest caused by colon cancer. Amy Carlson. Amy Lynn Carlson was born on July 7, 1968, in Glen Ellen, Illinois, USA. She gained recognition for her portrayal of Alex Taylor on the TV series Third Watch, where she appeared for several seasons. Additionally, Carlson played the role of Linda Regan on the police procedural drama Blue Bloods until she departed from the show in 2017. Apart from her television role, she's also been involved in various films and theatre productions throughout her career. In 2018, Carlson was presented with the Muhammad Ali Award for being a lead activist for gender equality. Brigham Young. Brigham Young was born on June 1, 1801. He was an American religious leader and a politician. He married 56 wives and had 57 children. He became the leader of the Mormons after the death of their founder, Joseph Smith, in 1844. Under Young's leadership, the Mormons embarked on a westward migration known as the Mormon Pioneer Trek, seeking religious freedom. They settled in the Salt Lake Valley in 1847, where Young played a crucial role in establishing the foundation of what would later become the state of Utah. He served as the territorial governor and led the community through various challenges, contributing to the development of the region. Young's influence extended beyond religious matters, impacting the political and economic landscape of the area. He died of peritonitis from a ruptured appendix on August 29, 1877. Ellen G. White. Ellen Gould White is a devoted Christian who played a crucial role in the formation of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Born on November 26, 1827, her religious visions and writings, totaling over 100,000 pages, emphasized themes like health, education, and prophecies. She got married in 1846, and despite controversy, her influence extended globally, shaping the beliefs and practices of the Adventist community. During her final years, she traveled less frequently as she concentrated on writing her last works for the church. She died on July 16, 1915. White's works, including Steps to Christ and The Desire of Ages, continue to be studied by adherents of the Seventh-day Adventist faith. We've come to the end of Tier 1. Do you think you've seen it all? Wait, we're just getting started. Tier 2. Joseph Franklin Rutherford. Joseph Franklin Rutherford was born on November 8, 1869. He was the second president of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, better known as the Jehovah's Witnesses. He succeeded Charles Taze Russell in 1917 and led the organization during a period of significant doctrinal development and organizational change. Rutherford is known for introducing the term Jehovah's Witnesses in 1931 and for emphasizing door-to-door evangelism. His leadership also marked the establishment of distinct doctrines, including the denial of the Trinity and the prediction of specific dates for Armageddon, which did not come to pass. He died on January 8, 1972, from colon cancer. Rutherford's presidency left a lasting impression on the Jehovah's Witnesses, shaping the movement into its current form. Goel Ratzon. Goel Ratzon is an Israeli polygamist with 21 wives and 49 children. He was born on September 19, 1950. In September 2014, Tel Aviv-Yafo District Court convicted Ratzon of rape, fraud, and other offences against his wives and daughters. He was sentenced to 30 years imprisonment. The case of Goel Ratzon brought attention to the legal and ethical implications of such charismatic leaders who exploit followers for personal gain. This man had 21 wives, and he was still accused of raping someone that is not his wife. He's a psychopath. Elizabeth Clare Prophet. Elizabeth Clare Prophet was an American spiritual leader, author, and speaker. Born on April 8, 1939, she was best known as the head of the Summit Lighthouse, a new religious movement that emerged in the 1950s. The prophet claimed to be a messenger of ascended masters and delivered teachings on topics ranging from spirituality and metaphysics to prophecy and the apocalypse. In the 1970s and 1980s, Elizabeth Clare Prophet gained attention for her charismatic leadership style and her prophecies, including predictions of global catastrophes. The movement faced controversy due to allegations of authoritarianism and financial improprieties. However, the allegations wouldn't deter her. She continued spreading her doctrines through books, lectures, and radio broadcasts. Unfortunately, she suffered health challenges, including Alzheimer's disease. She died on October 15, 2009. Hon Ming Chen. Hon Ming Chen was born in 1995, founder of Chen Tao, known as the True Way Cult. It is a Buddhist sect that combines traditional Buddhist teachings with elements of Taoism and other Chinese esoteric traditions. The True Buddha School emphasizes spiritual cultivation, meditation, and the pursuit of enlightenment. The group fell apart after his failed prophecy in 1999. No worries, you can laugh. Yahweh ben Yahweh. Hulon Mitchell Jr. was born on October 27, 1935. He was the founder and leader of a religious movement known as the Nation of Yahweh. This movement blended elements of Black Hebrew Israelite teachings with a charismatic leadership style. In the late 1980s, the Nation of Yahweh faced legal issues when Yahweh ben Yahweh and some of his followers were implicated in criminal activities, including racketeering and murder. Yahweh ben Yahweh was convicted in 1992 on federal charges, including conspiracy to commit murder. He served a prison sentence but was released in 2001 due to health reasons. He died from prostate cancer in May 2007. Fred Phelps. Fred Phelps was an American pastor and the founder of the Westboro Baptist Church, a small independent Baptist church known for its extreme views and provocative protests. He was born on November 13, 1929. The church became quite prominent for its vehement opposition to homosexuality. Its members, including Phelps and his family, were known for picketing events, funerals, and public spaces with signs displaying inflammatory and offensive messages. He believed the victims were killed as a result of God punishing the US for having bankrupt values and tolerating homosexuality. Sadly, Phelps died in 2014, but the Westboro Baptist Church stands. Helena Blavatsky. Helena Petrovna Blavatsky was born on August 12, 1831. She was an American mystic, Russian occultist, philosopher, and co-founder of the Theosophical Society, which she established in 1875. Blavatsky's major works include The Secret Doctrine and Isis Unveiled, where she delved into esoteric teachings, occultism, and the synthesis of ancient wisdom traditions. Her writings claim to reveal hidden spiritual truths and the ancient wisdom underlying various religious and mystical traditions. Blavatsky's emphasis on the mystical and esoteric aspects of spirituality contributed to the development of modern Western occultism. She claimed to have been in contact with spiritual entities known as the Masters or Mahatmas, who imparted hidden knowledge to her. She died in 1891 after contracting the influenza epidemic during the global flu pandemic. Guess the knowledge didn't include how to cure the flu. Jörg Lanz von Liebenfels. Adolf Joseph Lanz was an Austrian political and racial theorist and occultist. He was a pioneer of Ariosophy. He became a monk in the Cistercian in 1893. Born on July 19, 1874, Lanz von Liebenfels founded the Ordo Novi Templi, which means Order of the New Templars, in 1907. It promoted a vision that blended racial purity, ancient mystical wisdom, and a belief in a higher Aryan race. His ideas heavily influenced later Nazi ideology, particularly through the racial theories that saw the Aryan race as superior. He also published a periodical called Ostara, in which he spread his views on racial purity, eugenics, and the superiority of the Aryan race. He died on April 22, 1954. Wallace Fard Muhammad. Wallace Fard Muhammad was born on February 26, 1877. He is a mysterious and controversial figure associated with the early history of the Nation of Islam. Fard is believed to be the founder of the Nation of Islam, an African-American religious movement that surfaced in the United States during the early 20th century. Fard appeared in Detroit in the 1930s, and he is credited with teaching the foundational beliefs of the Nation of Islam to its first leader, Elijah Muhammad. Fard's teaching emphasized the importance of self-reliance, separation of races, and the idea of black empowerment. However, Fard's background and identity remain shrouded in mystery, and some aspects of his life have been the subject of speculation and debate. His disappearance in 1934 adds to the intrigue surrounding his persona. Orville LeBaron. Orville Morel LeBaron was an ancient criminal and the leader of a violent polygamous cult known as the Church of the Lamb of God. Born on February 22, 1925, Orville had 13 wives, most of whom he married while they were still underage. The cult, which had its roots in Mormon fundamentalism, became notorious for its involvement in murders, particularly in the context of rivalries with other polygamous groups. Orville LeBaron was responsible for masterminding a series of killings, often targeting rival religious leaders and members of his own family who opposed his leadership. LeBaron was eventually arrested in Mexico in 1979 and was convicted of ordering the murder of Rulon Olred, a rival leader. He received a life sentence but died in prison in 1981. Jaime Gomez. Jaime Gomez, the infamous founder of the Butterfield cult, used parlor tricks and mental manipulation to control his followers and evade taxes. A former high-ranking member blew the whistle on Gomez in 2006, convincing many to leave the cult and exposing his dark truths. Despite allegations of abuse of his male members and harassment of many of his members, Gomez has faced no criminal charges or arrests and continues to operate the cult, now reportedly in Hawaii. This man deserves a follow. Turns out he evaded his allegations as well. Hogan Fukunaga. Hogan Fukunaga was born on April 5, 1945. He is the founder of the Ho no Hana cult, foot reading. He claimed to be a reincarnation of both Jesus Christ and Buddha in 1987, and he claimed to be able to make diagnoses by checking people's feet. Fukunaga and other cult leaders read the soles of people's feet. They told the victims, who visited the cult for counseling about physical or family problems, that their problems would worsen unless they attended a cult seminar, which cost 2.25 million yen, or donated up to 14.3 million yen to the cult. In 2000, he was convicted of fraud and sentenced to 12 years in jail. Réal. Claude Maurice Marcel Vorillon was born on September 30, 1946. He is a French journalist who founded the Raelian cult. He claims to have had a series of encounters with extraterrestrial beings in 1973, during which he received messages about the origins of humanity. The Raelian movement combines elements of science fiction, ufology, and spirituality. Réal preaches a message of free love, sexual freedom, and the belief in extraterrestrial creators, known as the Elohim. He traveled the world for over 30 years to promote his books. David Berg. David Brandt Berg was born on February 18, 1919. He was an American religious leader who founded the Children of God, later known as the Family International, in 1968. David Berg graduated from Monterey High School in 1935 and later attended Elliott School of Business Administration. Like his father, Berg became a minister in the Christian and Missionary Alliance in the late 1940s and was placed at Valley Farms, Arizona. Berg was eventually expelled from the organization for differences in teachings and for alleged sexual misconduct with a church employee. In Berg's writings, he claimed the expulsion was due to his support for greater racial diversity among his congregation. He lived in seclusion from 1971 and died in November 1994. This marks the end of Tier 2. This next tier consists of the craziest cult leaders that will make you question sanity. One was even sent to 8,658 because of his heinous crime. Tier 3. Guy Ballard. Guy Warren Ballard was an American mining engineer, author and co-founder of the I Am movement. He was born on July 28, 1878. Ballard's life took a significant turn in 1930 when he and his wife, Edna Ann Wheeler Ballard, claimed to have mystical experiences on Mount Shasta in California. These experiences formed the basis of their teachings and the establishment of the I Am movement. In 1932, he and his wife published a book titled Unveiled Mystery, which marked the beginning of the I Am literature series, which included The Magic Presence and the I Am Discourses. In 1942, they began the I Am Sanctuary at a Presbyterian missionary school. He died on December 29, 1939. Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh. Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh was an Indian spiritual teacher, philosopher, mystic, and the leader of the Rajneesh movement. He was born on December 11, 1931. Osho attracted followers with his dynamic and controversial teachings that blended aspects of Eastern mysticism, philosophy, and a form of dynamic meditation. In the 1980s, Osho and his followers established a commune called Rajneeshpuram in Oregon, USA. In 1984, some of his followers committed a mass food poisoning attack. Osho was arrested and pleaded guilty to immigration fraud, leading to his deportation from the United States in 1985. He returned to India, where he continued to teach until he died in 1990. Corneliu Zelia Codreanu. Corneliu Zelensky was a Romanian politician and the founder of the Iron Guard, a fascist and nationalist movement in Romania during the interwar period in 1927. He was born on September 13, 1899. During the 1930s, Codreanu and the Iron Guard gained popularity and faced conflict with the established political order. Codreanu's movement, characterized by its extreme ideology and paramilitary tactics, created significant unrest. However, in 1938, King Carol II dissolved the Iron Guard and had Codreanu arrested. Tragically, Corneliu Zelia Codreanu died in mysterious circumstances in 1938 while allegedly attempting to escape from prison. Young Myung Seok. Young Myung Seok was born in 1945. He is a South Korean religious leader who founded the group known as Providence, officially registered as Christian Gospel Mission in the 1970s. Providence combines elements of Christianity and unique teachings and practices. The group has faced controversy and legal issues. Young Myung Seok was convicted of sexual assault in South Korea in the early 2000s, and there have been allegations of misconduct within the organization. He was arrested and convicted of rape in 2008, with 10 years in prison. He was again indicted in South Korea on 28 October 2022 for sexually assaulting 2 female followers between 2018 and 2022. Ryuho Akawa. Nakashi Nakagawa was born on July 7, 1956. Ryuho Akawa is a Japanese religious leader, author, and founder of the Happy Science Group in 1986. He was promoting a spiritual and philosophical system that combines elements of various religions, including Buddhism and Christianity, along with his teachings. Happy Science emphasizes spiritual enlightenment, positive thinking, and the pursuit of happiness. Akawa claims to have had numerous spiritual experiences and to channel the spirits of various historical figures during his lectures and writing. He died on March 2, 2023. Vizarion. Sergei Antolyevich Torup is a Russian mystic and the founder of the Church of the Last Testament, also known as the Community of United Fools. He was born on January 14, 1961. He claims to be the reincarnation of Jesus Christ and has gathered followers who believe in his spiritual teachings. Vizarion founded his religious movement in the early 1990s in the Siberian taiga. His teachings emphasize environmentalism, vegetarianism, and a communal lifestyle. He was arrested in September 2020. The Russian authorities accused them of creating a religious group whose activities may impose violence on citizens. He is still awaiting trial. Ben Clarson. Ben Clarson, who is an American white supremacist and founder of the Church of the Creator, a white separatist organisation, was born on February 20th, 1918. Claassen was openly racist, anti-Semitic and anti-Christian, and first popularised the term racial holy war within the white power movement. Claassen developed and promoted a racist ideology centred around the idea of white racial superiority. In 1973, Claassen published Nature's Eternal Religion, a book that outlined the beliefs of the Church of the Creator. The Church advocated for racial purity, anti-Semitism, and the establishment of a separate white homeland. Claassen's writings and teachings became influential in certain white supremacist circles. Possibly depressed after the death of his wife, the failure of his church, and a diagnosis of cancer, Claassen committed suicide by taking an overdose of sleeping pills, either late on August 6th or early on August 7th, 1993. Andrzej Tawiański. Andrzej Tawiański was a Polish mystic and religious leader who played a significant role in the development of messianic and spiritual movements during the 19th century. He was born on January 1st, 1799. He claimed to be a prophet and spiritual guide, advocating for a renewal of faith and to return to a purer form of Christianity. Tawiański's influence extended beyond religious matters into the political realm. His teachings inspired some individuals involved in the Polish independence movement, seeking both spiritual and national revival. He died in 1878. Adnan Oktar. Adnan Oktar was born on February 2nd, 1956. He is a Turkish author, Islamic creationist, and conspiracy theorist. Oktar gained prominence for his creationist views and his advocacy against the theory of evolution. He has authored numerous books on science, religion, and politics. Oktar is the founder of the Science Research Foundation, Bilim Araştırma Vakfı, or BAV in Turkish, and associated publishing houses Millet Book Services. He gained international attention for his efforts to discredit the theory of evolution and promote his version of Islamic creationism. In July 2018, Oktar was arrested along with several of his associates on charges of various crimes, including fraud, sexual assault, and forming a criminal organisation. On 11th of January 2021, he was sentenced to 1,075 years in prison and was subsequently sentenced to 8,658 years in prison on 17th of November 2022 as a result of his retrial. Tony Alamo. Bernie Lazar Hoffman, born in 1934, was an American Christian evangelist and the founder of the controversial religious group known as the Tony Alamo Christian Ministries. He started his ministry in the 1960s, gaining attention for his teachings and unconventional practices. The Tony Alamo Christian Ministries faced scrutiny for its authoritarian structure, allegations of child abuse, and extreme views on various issues. Alamo's teachings often included conspiracy theories, anti-Catholic sentiments, and predictions of apocalyptic events. In 2009, Tony Alamo was convicted on federal charges related to transporting minors across state lines for immoral purposes, including sexual misconduct. He was sentenced to 175 years in prison and died in federal custody in 2017. Keith Raniere. Keith Raniere was born on August 26, 1960. He is an American convicted felon and the founder of NXIVM, pronounced Nexium, a controversial self-help organization. Raniere's organization attracted individuals from various backgrounds, including celebrities. Nexium's practices included intensive personal development workshops, but it also faced criticism for its secretive nature and the alleged exploitation of its members. In 2019, June 18th, Keith Raniere was convicted on multiple charges, including racketeering, sexual exploitation, sex trafficking, and forced labour conspiracy. The court received more than 100 victim impact statements detailing the harm Raniere caused. In 2020, Raniere was sentenced to 100 years in prison. Frederick Lenz. Frederick Philip Lenz was born on February 9, 1950. He was an American spiritual leader, author, software designer, record producer, and founder of the Rama Meditation Society. In the 1980s and 1990s, his teachings were based on meditation, Eastern spirituality, and personal development. He emphasized the integration of spiritual practices into contemporary life and the use of technology to spread his teachings. He died as a result of suicide in 1998. Okay, Tier 3 ends here. But if you think these cult leaders couldn't get any crazier, then you're in for a treat in the next tier, One of them even claimed 666 to be a mark of perfection. Tier 4. George Van Tassel. George Van Tassel was born on March 12, 1910. He was an American contactee, ufologist and author. He claimed to have had contact with extraterrestrial beings from Venus, who provided him with plans for a structure he called the Integratron. Van Tassel believed that the Integratron could be used to achieve anti-gravity, time travel, and communication with other worlds. He began to study UFOs and extraterrestrial intelligence in the 1950s, and he claimed to have had his first contact with extraterrestrials in 1953. In 1954, Van Tassel began construction on the Integratron. The structure is a 39-foot-tall dome made of concrete and wood, which he claimed to have received the design from the extraterrestrials. Van Tassel died in 1978, but his legacy continues to live on. The Integratron is now a popular tourist destination and is also used for meditation, yoga, and other activities. Aravindan Balakrishnan. Aravindan Balakrishnan was known as Comrade Bala. He was a Singaporean-born British Maoist cult leader and convicted rapist who founded the Workers' Institute of Marxism, Leninism, Mao Zedong Thought, the WSM, in 1970. The WSM was a secretive and insular group that Balakrishnan controlled with an iron fist. He subjected his followers to physical and psychological abuse, and he also raped several of them. Balakrishnan was born on the 19th of June 1939, studied at Raffles Institution and later the University of Singapore, where he became involved in politics. He was a member of the Communist Party of Malaya, but he was also expelled from the party in 1968 for his extremist views. In 1987, Balakrishnan was arrested, convicted of all charges, and sentenced to 23 years in prison. Balakrishnan died in prison in 2013. William Cam. William Cam was born in 1950. In the 1990s, Cam founded the Order of Saint Charbel, a religious group that is named after the Maronite saint Charbel Makhlouf. The group's teachings are based on a mix of Christianity, New Age spirituality, and conspiracy theories. Cam claimed to be a prophet and the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. He also claimed to have supernatural powers, such as the ability to heal the sick and raise the dead. Cam controlled his followers with an iron fist. He isolated them from the outside world and subjected them to physical and psychological abuse. In 2005, Cam was convicted of sexually assaulting a 15-year-old girl. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison with a non-parole period of 3.5 years. In 2014, Cam was released from prison on parole. However, he was arrested again in 2016 for violating the terms of his parole. He was sentenced to a further year in prison. Cam is currently living in Australia. He is still the leader of the Order of Saint Charbel. Saul B. Newton. Saul B. Newton was born on June 25, 1906. He was a self-proclaimed prophet and cult leader who founded the International Community of the Lord, ICL, in 1965. The ICL was a religious sect that based its teachings on a mix of Christianity, New Age spirituality, and conspiracy theories. Newton claimed to be the reincarnation of Jesus Christ, and he believed that he was the only one who could save humanity from an impending apocalypse. The group was accused of brainwashing its followers, and he also used physical and psychological abuse to control his followers, which was linked to several suicides and murders. Newton died in 1993. George King. George King was born on January 23, 1919. He was a British mystic and self-proclaimed spiritual leader who founded the Aetheria Society in 1955. In the mid-20th century, George King gained attention for his alleged telepathic communication with these extraterrestrial entities, who he asserted were concerned about Earth's spiritual evolution. King's teachings encompassed a blend of Eastern mysticism, ufology, and New Age spirituality. The centre of his teaching includes meditation, prayer, and what they call spiritual energy missions, aimed at helping the Earth and its inhabitants. He died in 1997. Theodore Ronaldo. Theodore Anthony Ronaldo was an American religious leader and entrepreneur born on March 11, 1944. However, his spiritual journey took a different turn when he moved to Seattle, Washington in the early 1970s. There, he became involved in the charismatic movement, a Christian revival that emphasized personal experiences of the Holy Spirit. He established the Overcomers Christian Center. Ronaldo's teachings, which drew inspiration from both traditional Christianity and New Age spirituality, emphasized the power of personal transformation and the importance of living a life of abundance. In 1979, Ronaldo was convicted of third-degree statutory rape for having sexual intercourse with one minor girl and taking indecent liberties with another. He was determined to be a sexual psychopath after 90 days of observation and committed to treatment for several years. He died in 2000. Christian Rosenkreuz. Christian Rosenkreuz, also known as Frater CRC, is a prominent figure associated with the Rosicrucian tradition. According to the Rosicrucian manifestos, Rosenkreuz was a spiritual reformer who founded the Rosicrucian Order, a secret society dedicated to the study of the occult and the pursuit of spiritual enlightenment. The Confession of the Fraternity of the Rose Cross describes Rosenkreuz as a pious and learned man who travelled throughout Europe and the Middle East, studying alchemy, medicine, and other occult sciences. Upon his return to Germany, he's said to have founded a secret society of 8 brothers, who pledged to dedicate their lives to the pursuit of spiritual enlightenment. Christian Rosenkreuz has remained a popular figure in the Rosicrucian tradition. He is often seen as a symbol of spiritual enlightenment and the pursuit of hidden knowledge. His name is also given to several Rosicrucian organizations, and he is the subject of many Rosicrucian myths and legends. William S. Sadler. William S. Sadler was an American surgeon, self-trained psychiatrist, and author who helped publish the Urantia book, born on June 24, 1875. The book is said to have resulted from Sadler's relationship with a man through whom he believed celestial beings spoke at night. It drew a following of people who studied its teachings. Sadler moved to Michigan as a teenager to work at the Battle Creek Sanitarium. There, he met the physician and health food promoter John Harvey Kellogg, co-inventor of cornflakes breakfast cereal, who became his mentor. Around 1895, Sadler attended Moody Bible Institute in Chicago, Illinois, where he trained to be an evangelist, ultimately becoming an ordained minister in 1901. Sadler was a complex and controversial figure. He was a brilliant and insightful thinker, but he was also prone to arrogance and dogmatism. His work on the Urantia book was his most significant contribution to the world, but it also made him a target of criticism and ridicule. Sadler died in Chicago in 1969 at the age of 93. Jeffrey Lundgren. Jeffrey Don Lundgren was an American self-proclaimed prophet and cult leader who was born on May 3, 1950. Lundgren's childhood was characterized by abuse and neglect. He was interested in religion and philosophy, but he also had a dark side. He was fascinated by violence and death, and he often fantasized about killing people. After high school, Lundgren joined the Navy and served in the Vietnam War, which further deepened his dark side as he witnessed horror on the battlefield. After the war, Lundgren returned to Missouri and began working as a hospital maintenance worker. He also started to become more involved in religion. He began attending a small independent church, and he soon became convinced that he was a prophet of God. Lundgren began to develop his own religious beliefs, which were a mixture of Christianity and Mormonism. He also began to gather a following of people who believed that he was a special messenger from God. On April 17, 1989, he killed a family of 5 in Kirtland, Ohio, believing it was a divine sacrifice. He was convicted and sentenced to death. He was executed by lethal injection in 2006. Glenn Taylor Heltzer. Glenn Taylor Heltzer is a self-proclaimed prophet, former cult leader, and spree killer who founded and led the Children of Thunder. Born July 26, 1970, he and his followers murdered 5 people in California as part of an extortion plot intended to culminate with Heltzer taking over the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, LDS Church, and hastening the return of Christ. In 1999, Heltzer began to experience increasingly severe delusions and hallucinations. He became convinced that he was a prophet of God, and he began to gather a following of people who believed in his claims. Heltzer named his group the Children of Thunder, and he began to preach that he'd been sent to earth to cleanse the world of sin and prepare for the return of Christ. On August 4, 2000, Heltzer and his followers murdered Selena Bishop, the daughter of blues guitarist Elvin Bishop. They also killed Bishop's mother, Jennifer Valarin, and her companion, James Gamble, and Ivan and Annette Steinman, an elderly couple who had been extorted by Heltzer. Heltzer and his followers were arrested on August 7, 2000. Heltzer was charged with 5 counts of murder and other crimes and was sentenced to death. Paul Schaefer. Paul Schaefer Schneider was born on December 4, 1921. He was a German-Chilean Christian minister and the founder and leader of Colonia Dignidad, Dignity Colony, a sex and agricultural commune of 300 German immigrants located in Parral, Chile, from 1961 to 2005. Schaefer led his followers in the teachings of William Branham. Schaefer was a former corporal and medic in the German army during World War II. After the war, he worked as a youth leader in the Evangelical Free Church. However, in 1954, he was removed from his position due to allegations of child sexual abuse. In 1961, Schaefer fled to Chile with a group of followers, aided by an underground Nazi network in South America. They purchased 70 square miles of land in Parral, Chile, and established Colonia Dignidad, a self-sufficient commune that became known for its isolation, secrecy, and authoritarian control. Schaefer exercised absolute control over the colony, and he was accused of subjecting his followers to psychological and physical abuse. In 2006, Schaefer was convicted of child sexual abuse and sentenced to 20 years in prison. He died in prison in 2010 at the age of 88. José Luis de Jesus. José Luis de Jesus Miranda was a Puerto Rican religious leader and businessman who claimed to be both the return phase of Jesus Christ and the Antichrist. He was born on April 22, 1946. He was the founder of the Creciendo en Gracia, Growing in Grace International Ministry. José Luis de Jesus Miranda grew up in a Catholic household. He reportedly had a religious awakening at the age of 17, which led him to delve into the Bible and various Christian denominations. During this period of spiritual exploration, he developed his interpretation of Christian scriptures, which would later form the foundation of his controversial teachings. In 1988, José Luis de Jesus Miranda established the Creciendo en Gracia International Ministry in Miami, Florida. His ministry attracted a growing following. He claimed to be the Jesus Christ man, the second coming of Christ, and encouraged his followers to address him as Daddy or God. One of his most controversial practices was the encouragement of his followers to get 666 tattoos, which he claimed represented the perfection of God. He also encouraged his followers to adopt a lifestyle of material prosperity and success, emphasizing the importance of wealth and abundance. José Luis de Jesus Miranda died in 2013. Billy Meier. Edouard Albert Billy Meier, born 3rd February 1937, is a Swiss UFO contactee who claims to have been in contact with extraterrestrial beings from the Pleiades star cluster since the age of 5. He is the founder of the Free Community of Interests for the Border and Spiritual Sciences and Ufological Studies, FIGU, a UFO religion that revolves around his alleged contacts with the Pleiadians. Meier's claims face skepticism from the scientific community and mainstream ufologists who argue that there is no evidence to support them. However, Meier has a devoted following of believers, and his work has been translated into over 20 languages. Meier is one of the most well-known UFO contactees in the world. His claims have been the subject of much debate and controversy, but he remains a popular figure among UFO enthusiasts. Matthew F. Hale. Matthew F. Hale is an American white supremacist, neo-Nazi leader, and convicted felon. Born July 27, 1971, Hale was the founder of the East Peoria, Illinois-based white separatist group, then known as the World Church of the Creator, now called the Creativity Movement. He declared himself its Pontifex Maximus in continuation of the Church of the Creator organization founded by Ben Clarson in 1973. Hale was raised in a religious household. He attended Southern Illinois University School of Law, where he graduated with a Juris Doctor degree. In 1993, Hale founded the White Aryan Resistance, a white supremacist group that advocated for the creation of a white ethno-state. The group was short-lived, but it helped Hale to establish himself as a leader in the white supremacist movement. In 1996, Hale took over the leadership of the World Church of the Creator, a white supremacist group that had been founded by Ben Clarson in 1973. Under Hale's leadership, the World Church of the Creator became one of the most active and visible white supremacist groups in the United States. In 2003, Hale was arrested for soliciting the murder of federal judge Joan Lefkow. Hale was convicted of solicitation of murder and sentenced to 40 years in prison. He was released from prison in 2023. Since his release from prison, Hale has continued to promote his racist and anti-Semitic views online. And from what you've seen so far, we can only wonder what was going through these people's minds. Like virtually all of them are involved in crimes. So much for a leader. But wait, there's more. Tier 5. Malachi Z. York. Dwight D. York, also known as Malachi Z. York, was born on June 26, 1945. He is a controversial figure who founded the Nubian nation in the 1970s. Initially presenting himself as a spiritual leader, York's teachings blended elements of various religious traditions, including Islam, Christianity, and ancient Egyptian mysticism. In 2004, he was convicted on federal charges of transporting minors across state lines for child sexual molestation, as well as racketeering and financial reporting violations. York's case was reported as the largest prosecution for child molestation ever directed at a single person in the history of the United States, both in terms of number of victims and number of incidents. He is serving a 135-year sentence. Bogdan Kakmajor. Bogdan Kakmajor was born in 1953. He is a Polish healer and the founder of the Zbor Leczenia Duszem Svetim Niebo Holy Spirit Healing Congregation, Heaven, a religious group that practiced divine healing. Kakmajor claimed to have received a divine revelation in 1982 that gave him the power to heal the sick through the laying on of hands and also raise the dead. He began to treat patients in Elblag and later in Cruz Zawenia, near Morag. In 1990, he moved to Majdan Kozlawiecki, where he established a commune for his followers. His teachings were a blend of Christianity and New Age spirituality. He believed that illness was caused by sin and that healing could only be achieved through spiritual purification. He also believed in the power of positive thinking and visualization. In 1999, he was charged with practicing medicine without a license. Kakmajor died in 2016 at age 62. Gurmeet Ram Rahim Singh Insan. Gurmeet Ram Rahim Singh Insan, also known as MSG, was born on August 15, 1967. He is a religious leader, social worker, actor, singer, writer, songwriter, director, and composer. He became the third spiritual head of Dera Sasha Soda at the age of 23. He has been the head of the Indian social group Dera Sasha Soda (DSS) since 1990. In 2002, Gurmeet Ram Rahim Singh was accused of the murder of Ram Chandra Chhatrapati, a journalist who had been investigating allegations of sexual abuse within DSS. The case dragged on for several years, and it was not until 2017 that Ram Rahim Singh was finally convicted of the murder and sentenced to life imprisonment. In August 2017, two separate sexual assault cases against Ram Rahim Singh came to light. He was accused of raping two of his female followers in the 1990s. The charges sparked protests and violence from Dera Sasha Soda followers, leading to the deaths of at least 30 people. In August 2017, Ram Rahim Singh was found guilty of rape and sentenced to 20 years in prison. In 2021, Ram Rahim Singh was convicted of the murder of Ranjit Singh, a former Dera Sasha Soda manager, and sentenced to another life sentence. Valentina Krasheninnikov. Vyacheslav Sergeyevich Krasheninnikov was born on March 22, 1982 in Yerga, Kemerovo region. He passed away on March 17, 1993 in Chebakul, Russia, as a 10-year-old Russian boy who succumbed to leukemia. Some individuals consider him a wonder worker due to his perceived gift of prophecy during his lifetime, and local accounts suggest that miracles attributed to him persisted even after his death. Despite these beliefs, the Russian Orthodox Church, upon a thorough examination of his life and statements, dismissed the possibility of canonization. Haku Zinkayoku. Haku Zinkayoku is a Japanese stereo who was born in Saguenay, Quebec, Canada, into a French-Canadian family. As a child, he was considered to be very intelligent, but dropped out of school in the 7th grade and began to teach himself and become a vocalist who is known for his dark and atmospheric music. He is a member of the bands The Black Lotus and The Temple of Shadows, and he's also released several solo albums. Zinkayoku's music is often characterized by its use of heavy bass, distorted guitars, and dark vocals. He's been praised for his ability to create a sense of dread and unease with his music, and he has been compared to artists such as Black Sabbath, Barzum, and Dark Throne. Zinkayoku's music is often inspired by Japanese folklore and mythology, and he has a particular interest in the occult. He has said that he is fascinated by the idea of evil, and he believes that his music can be used to explore the darker aspects of human nature. Shinkayoku has also said that he is influenced by the work of philosophers such as Friedrich Nietzsche and Aleister Crowley. Shinkayoku's music is not for the faint of heart, but it is sure to appeal to fans of dark and atmospheric music. His music is a powerful and disturbing journey into the depths of the human psyche, and it is sure to leave a lasting impression on those who hear it. Christopher Mark Nemelka. Christopher Mark Nemelka gained attention for his assertion that he is the reincarnated Hiram Smith, the brother of Joseph Smith, and that he has a divine mission to continue the work started by the early leaders of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, LDS Church. He claims to have translated sealed portions of the gold plates, similar to the ones Joseph Smith is said to have translated to produce the Book of Mormon. Nemelka's teachings include unique interpretations of LDS doctrines, and he has introduced controversial ideas that diverge significantly from mainstream Mormon beliefs. His movement has faced criticism for its unorthodox views, and many within the LDS community consider his claims to be unfounded and not aligned with the core tenets of their faith. Despite his assertions and attempts to gather followers, Nemelka's movement remains on the fringes of the broader Mormon community, with his teachings not widely accepted or recognized by mainstream Latter-day Saints. Luc Jouret. Luc Jouret was born on October 18, 1947. He was a Belgian homeopath and cult leader who founded the Order of the Solar Temple, OTS, a religious group that was responsible for a series of mass suicides in the 1990s. He also began to study esotericism and mysticism, and in 1980 he met Joseph de Mambro, a Belgian who shared his interests. In 1984, Jouret and de Mambro founded the OTS, a group that combined elements of Christianity, New Age spirituality, and the occult. The group's teachings emphasize the importance of spiritual enlightenment and the need to prepare for a coming apocalypse. In 1994, the OTS began to experience financial difficulties, and its leaders became increasingly paranoid. They began to believe that they were being persecuted by the government and the media, and they convinced their followers that they needed to prepare for a mass exodus from the world. On October 4, 1994, 55 members of the OTS died in a series of mass suicides in Switzerland and Canada. The following day, Jouret and de Mambro were found dead in a farmhouse in Salvan, Switzerland. They committed suicide after shooting and killing 3 other people. Zahid Zaman. Zahid Zaman was born in 1968. He was the leader of a group of vulnerable people whom he subjected to mental and physical abuse. Zaman was a charismatic and manipulative individual who was able to exert control over the people around him. In 2007, Zaman moved to North Shields, Tyne and Wear, where he met Prout. Prout was a vulnerable man who had a history of mental illness and alcohol abuse. Zaman quickly took advantage of Prout's vulnerability and began to control his life. Zaman subjected Prout to a campaign of mental and physical abuse. He forced Prout to work for him for no pay, and he beat and humiliated him. Zaman also isolated Prout from his friends and family, and he convinced him that he was worthless and that no one cared about him. In 2012, Zaman and his accomplices decided to murder Prout. They tortured him for several days before forcing him to eat his testicle. They then beat him to death and dumped his body in a field. Zaman and his accomplices were arrested and charged with murder. They were all convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment. Zaman was sentenced to a minimum term of 33 years. Roche Dérault. Roche Dérault was born on May 16, 1947. He was a self-proclaimed prophet under the name Wise, who founded the Anthill Kids in 1977. They were a doomsday cult whose beliefs were based on Seventh-day Adventist church beliefs. In April 1978, Dérault was disfellowshipped from the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Dérault maintained multiple wives and concubines, impregnating all female members as a religious requirement and fathering 26 children. He believed he was a prophet sent to warn the world of an impending apocalypse. Dérault was a charismatic and controlling leader, and he quickly gained the loyalty of his followers. He imposed a strict set of rules on the commune, which included forced labour, physical punishment, and the prohibition of contact with the outside world. Dérault also subjected his followers to several bizarre and humiliating rituals. In 1989, Dérault was arrested for assaulting one of his followers, and he was sentenced to 2 years in prison. After his release from prison, Dérault became increasingly paranoid and delusional, and he began to believe that his followers were plotting against him. In 1993, Dérault was arrested again, this time for the murder of 2 of his followers. He was convicted and sentenced to life in prison. Tero died in prison in 2011. Zhao Weishan. Zhao Weishan is a Chinese religious leader and the founder of the Church of Almighty God, CAG, also known as Eastern Lightning. He was born on December 12, 1951. The CAG is a Christian new religious movement that emerged in China in 1989 and has since spread to other parts of the world. The group's beliefs are based on a unique interpretation of the Bible, which they believe was completed with the publication of their religious texts in the early 1990s. The CAG claims that Jesus Christ has returned to earth in the form of a woman named Yang Zhangbin, whom they believe is the Almighty God incarnate. In 1991, Zhao and his followers established the Church of Almighty God. The CAG teaches that the world is in the last days and that Jesus Christ has returned to earth to judge the living and the dead. The CAG has been criticised for being an illegal cult. The group has also been accused of human rights abuses, including the use of violence and coercion to recruit and retain members. The CAG denies these accusations and maintains that it is a peaceful and law-abiding organisation. Zhao Weishan remains the leader of the CAG today. He lives in exile in the United States, where he continues to oversee the group's activities. George Angel Livraga. George Angel Livraga Rizzi was born on September 3, 1930. He was an Argentinian poet, novelist, essayist, educator, and lecturer of Italian heritage, best known for having founded and directed New Acropolis, an international philosophical, educational, and cultural organisation. He was also the author of several books on philosophy, esotericism, and mythology. He studied medicine and philosophy at the University of Buenos Aires, but his true passion was for esotericism and mythology. In 1947, he joined the Theosophical Society, where he studied the works of Helena Blavatsky and other occultists. In 1957, he founded New Acropolis, which quickly became one of the most influential philosophical and cultural organizations in Argentina. Livraga was a prolific writer and speaker. He wrote over 20 books on a variety of topics, including philosophy, esotericism, mythology, and comparative religion. He also gave lectures and seminars on these topics all over the world. Livraga died in Madrid, Spain. Mariana Svigon. Mariana Svigon, also known as Maria Devi Christos, was born in 1960. She is a religious sect leader of the new community of enlightened humanity, also known as Yusmalos, or the Great White Brotherhood. Svigon claims to have received visions of Jesus Christ and other religious figures, and she believes that she is the reincarnation of Mary Magdalene. She is also claimed to have supernatural powers, such as the ability to heal the sick and raise the dead. Svigon's teachings are a mix of Christianity, New Age spirituality, and conspiracy theories. She believes that the world is controlled by a group of satanic elites who are planning to bring about a global apocalypse. She also believes that she is the only one who can save humanity from this apocalypse. Svigon's followers are required to live a strict and ascetic life. They are not allowed to have contact with the outside world, and they are required to work long hours for little or no pay. Svigon has also been accused of using physical and psychological abuse to control her followers. The Great White Brotherhood has been labelled a dangerous cult by many experts. The group has been accused of brainwashing its followers, and it's been linked to several suicides. Svigon remains a controversial figure to this day. She's considered by her followers to be a living saint, but she's also considered by many to be a dangerous cult leader. Marcus Wesson. Marcus DeLon Wesson was an American mass murderer and child rapist, convicted of 9 counts of first-degree murder and 14 sex crimes, including the rape and molestation of his underage daughters. He was born on August 22, 1946. His victims were his children, fathered through incestuous sexual abuse of his daughters and nieces, as well as his wife's children. He's been described as the worst mass murderer in Fresno, California. He was raised as a member of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Wesson claimed that his mother was a religious fanatic. His father was an alcoholic and child abuser who abandoned the family when Wesson was a child. By the early 1960s, the family had moved to San Bernardino, California. In the early 1970s, he joined a religious commune in Northern California. However, he left the commune after a few years and returned to Fresno. Wesson began to father children with his daughters and nieces through incestuous sexual abuse. He also had several children with his wife, Sabrina. Wesson kept his family isolated from the outside world, and he controlled their lives through intimidation and violence. On March 12, 2004, police were called to Wesson's home in response to a child custody dispute. Wesson opened fire on the officers, killing 9 people and injuring 6 others. He then barricaded himself inside his home with his remaining children. After a 6-hour standoff, police stormed the house and arrested Wesson. He was charged with 9 counts of first-degree murder and 14 sex crimes. He pleaded not guilty because of insanity, but he was found guilty on all counts and sentenced to death in 2005. He is currently on death row at San Quentin State Prison. The world of mysterious cult leaders is a realm filled with intrigue, controversy, and unorthodox beliefs. It's been an eye-opener for me to dive into their stories and try to grasp what drives them. I hope you've found it as intriguing as I have. If you like this deep dive and want to stay updated with more such explorations, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Really appreciate you tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the ride. Do like and subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching.